understand that, well, actually your food started out growing out of the ground and either being eaten by animals or growing out of the ground and getting harvested and turning into the food that you eat at the supermarket or grocery store for Americans. But I don't know. When your local government is trying to destroy the farming industry, for security, there are two things that a country needs. One is agriculture and one is production, manufacturing. And as soon as you turn your back on those two things, you have no security because you're importing it from everywhere else. You can't rely on the staples. Yeah, but yeah, if you can't produce the staples, then, you know, it's kind of sounding the death knell for your country as a survival. You look at African nations, they don't produce the food they need. They have no manufacturing. And if there's a food shortage everywhere, in quotes, then, oh, you're on the headland, that's good. Then you're going to be the last person to get the things. It was the same with, the plague of 2020. Who was producing all of the vaccines? Everybody in the world was reliant on the few countries that were capable of producing the vaccines because so many people have not ensured their country's security. The other security thing is obviously fuel. And again, Britain's closing down. I think they closed down their last coal power station. They're not drilling oil out of the North Sea. And your wind farms still need oil. There is still need of lubrication for those great big turbines. But, yeah, I don't know. It's almost like, you know, the politicians would be happy if everybody returned to the Dark Ages and, you know, you work the land and make barely enough food to feed yourself and your family, and you don't have any leisure time and you don't have anything else. And you're all subservient to the Lord of the land. It's really difficult to see here, but I think... well, we've got another row here. Yes, exactly. And if there is food shortage in everywhere else, or if you're not talking to a country like Russia that produces a lot of grain and a lot of energy, then, you know, you're at the beck and call of everybody who does do it. It's been sad watching the UK do what it's doing. And the whole, what was it? They built a load of wind farms in Scotland. And initially it sounded like they didn't have the power lines to transfer the power away from where they'd built the windmills. Turns out, yes, the windmills can charge up the national grid, but there are bottlenecks. And... you know, effectively, those windmills are good for providing Scotland with power, but there's a bottleneck at the border of Scotland and England that limits how much power can be transferred. And then there's another bottleneck, sort of Hull, Durham sort of line across, east-west across England, where there's another bottleneck. So nobody in the south can benefit from all these windmills in Scotland. So the windmills in Scotland are producing a ton of power because it's windy up there, and it's not getting to any of the consumers. Maybe you should build some AI centres up there, because somebody needs, somebody has to use the power. It's a problem. I've been watching the escapades of the British government, and the Conservatives were bad. The Conservatives deserved to lose the last election. And I would suggest, from what the Conservatives had been doing, Labour didn't get a mandate. They were just the only party left that people felt confident in voting for. But they were always going to decimate everything that was going on worse than the Conservatives had. Is that you're done? Good. And it's almost like, no surprises. They were always going to do this. But you get what you voted for, and am I going the right way? Oh, that's the BGA. Oh, I've got a long way to go round. Okay. Let's try not to hit a tree on the way. Oh, let's try not to end up in the river either. Good. I saw the buildings through the trees. I didn't realise it was the BGA and not my farm. Okay, now we're safe. So I'm going to get this back to the farm. We'll do some sleeping, and then it'll be daylight for... But then I don't understand what the goal of the politicians is. And I'm seeing it with some of the Labour MPs. For many, many years, they've been kowtowing to the wants and needs of the immigrants rather than the native population, because they want the immigrants to vote for them. And now the immigrants have reached such a density in some regions that these politicians are realising, I've lost my seat. The next time they vote, they're going to vote for one of their own. They're not going to vote for me anymore because I don't serve their need. I'm not one of them. I'm serving their needs because I want to keep my job, but I'm not one of them, and they're going to pick somebody else. And I don't know. The decline of, effectively it's the decline of the world. America is, 3 years behind you guys. And as much as people don't like Donald Trump, he is kind of looking like the only person who's staving off the decline for now. But his methods are, I look at things, and if you're a scholar of history, you see people will question, how did Hitler come to power? Because he told the American people what they wanted to hear. So on that count, you look at people who say things, and it's, are you genuine or are you nefarious? And unfortunately, I don't think you can tell until the bad stuff happens. Okay, let's turn lights off, engines off, get out. there are no vehicles running, so... Oh, yeah, I didn't hear that much. I did hear... I kind of respected him in that he was campaigning to stay in the EU. And when everybody voted against that, he said, I can't in good conscience work to divorce the UK from the EU. There needs to be somebody else to take that seat and actually do the whole separation thing. But that said, I'm not sure the politicians that took over after he left were actually that sold on separating from the EU. Because there was so much just half-hearted negotiations and, yeah, we're not doing that. In a way, love her or hate her, Margaret Thatcher had a strong backbone, and she argued the whole EU entry, if you like, and made sure that England had a strong position. What do we do? Oh, we got a Zunhammer thing and a Straw Harvest Pack thing. Okay, not going to buy those, but we are going to sleep until the morning. 7 o'clock is fine. Yeah, it was... The whole thing was a mess, but, I like those tractors. I've used them frequently. Okay, nothing exciting. Okay, let's get back to doing things in fields. So, step 1. Oh, what have we spread lime on and what haven't we? So everything in this block's been done. Nothing in that block's been done. If I come to there, I can do that one. I can then cross over to there. Do those, do 30 and head back. That would be the plan. So, engine on, lights on, let's go. I mean, part of the problem with Europe or the European Union is a lot of the time it appears, at least from the distance I'm viewing it, that it's bureaucrats making rules up and everybody has to live by them and nobody elects the bureaucrats. And that does not make for a democracy. That makes for a autocracy. Autocracy. No, it's not an autocracy. I mean, in a way, that's more applicable. Many of the countries in the world these days are plutocracies run by the rich for the rich, and the peasants are not going to have a fun time of it. Okay, I should... Okay, I still do not have enough. I'm pretty sure horse manure. Top this off. We can turn the lights on this one too. But then, in a way, okay. I mean, you look at the government of America. You have the president, who's the head of the executive. They execute the laws. You have Congress, who legislate. They create the laws. Then you have the judiciary that judges the laws. The problem is the legislature kind of got lazy. And they said, oh, we need to do a thing. We'll create a government bureaucracy to do the thing. And the government bureaucracy can make up the rules. And then we don't have to worry ourselves about it. So things like clean air laws, clean environment laws, if you like, governing of the radio waves usage. Congress doesn't deal with any of that, but that's essentially what they should be dealing with. But no, they've created government bureaucracies to create rules, and these bureaucracies don't have, are not elected by the people. They just make up the rules as they see fit. And when they started, they were supposed to be, oh look, there's some pollution in this river. Let's go see who's got a factory upstream, and let's investigate and prosecute. They don't investigate and prosecute. They say, here's some forms, fill out the forms, and if there seems to be some shenanigans, we'll charge you with lying on your government forms and not necessarily polluting the environment. And the government for the people by the people is pretty much gone everywhere. We're living under a bureaucracy, be it Brussels or be it faceless bureaucrats in Washington, who make up the rules and decide who gets what and why and how. And the politicians themselves just seem to be there to make a quick buck and set themselves up for life. I mean, we have multi-millionaires who have never had a productive job in their life. They've worked their entire life in government, and where did you get your multi-millions from? Because we only pay you $150,000 at best per year, which is still 3 times more than what the average person gets paid. And I think that one of the big reasons that Donald Trump is so hated is he's a businessman. He made his money through business, by whatever means. But his business deals didn't for the most part affect the day-to-day activities of the people. And he's gone into government thinking you should be able to run government like you run a business. The business needs to make money, and government doesn't make money. Government takes money and then spends it. And the fraud and the just bloated government departments. Back when I was at school, our school administrator was one of the math teachers, and she would do all the administration between classes, which works. These days, no, we need an entire team of administrators of 20 administrators to administrate one school, and it's like they're not productive. They're just bean counters. They don't produce educated kids. Not that I'd say that's a prime goal of education these days either. Okay, where are we up to? I should probably service this as well. Oh, this is getting expensive. 370 and actually that's not bad. It's been a while. Okay, air that just because we're here. But yeah, it's government jobs for government friends, and it's costing the country too much money. Both of them, all of them. All right, let's up this back over here. I think this tractor could use some fuel. And then, what is the time? 8:30. We have been running, an hour and a half. It's nice. And Mrs. Osa's phone's going off, so I probably don't have much more than half an hour left to go today. Fill that up. Good grief. That was 5,000 litres when we started the harvest. Yeah, so I guess rant over for now. I did learn about the decline of industry in the UK. And back in the 1800s, the UK produced 50% of all the manufactured stuff in the world, in the entire world. Half the coal, half the steel, half the cotton, or half the fabric. 50% of manufactured goods were manufactured in the UK. And then I think they said in 1890, German steel manufacturing overtook British steel manufacturing. It wasn't a disaster, but through the course of the early 20th century, the First World War kind of destroyed finance to quite a significant degree. And what ended up happening was Britain had the choice of protecting the currency or protecting industry. And they chose currency. At the time, I believe the exchange rate was $4 to the pound, something like that. And what the Bank of England did to protect the currency basically caused the decline of manufacturing, because they were keeping the currency inflated. I am going to take over from you when you get to the end of the road, thank you. And so it made British exports too expensive, so others